guys, welcome to Choke Points. In this video, we're going to talk about South Africa and President Trump, the war of the words. Something new and something interesting has come out today. Actually, after G20 Summit was concluded, President Trump made a very long post about South Africa and he said a lot of things. Now, the real question is that what exactly all those things really mean, and does it even have any kind of substance in it, or is just one of those things again where President Trump will say lots of things, but very little will be true and rest will be just garbage. All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on, what he said, and please do like and subscribe. And let's get going. Before I do any of that, let me share my screen. All right, so there it is. Okay, now what he said. Let me read this whole thing, and we will discuss because I haven't read it myself. So the United States did not attend the G20 in South Africa because the South African government refuses to acknowledge or address the horrific human rights abuses endured by Afrikaners and other descendants of Dutch, French, and German settlers. To put it more bluntly, they are killing white people and randomly allowing their farms to be taken from them. Perhaps worst of all, the soon to be out of business New York Times and the fake news media won't issue a word against this genocide. That's why all the liars and pretenders of the radical left media are going out of business. At the conclusion of the G20, South Africa refused to hand off the G20 presidency to a senior representative from our US Embassy, who attended the closing ceremony. Therefore, at my direction, South Africa will not be receiving an invitation to the 2026 G20, which will be hosted in the great city of Miami, Florida next year. South Africa has demonstrated to the world they are not a country worthy of membership anywhere, and we are going to stop all payments and subsidies to them effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, guys. A lot was said, but I'm gonna go with some key points here. Okay, few key points so that um, we can look into it. All right, and I'm going to talk straight facts, no BS here. All right. So if anyone gets offended, well, then you need to look into things. I cannot help it. All right. Anyways, United States did not attend the G20 summit in South Africa because South African government refuses to acknowledge or address the horrific human rights abuses endured by the Afrikaners, okay, and other descendants of Dutch, French, and German settlers. All right, first thing first is that South African government refuses to acknowledge this human rights abuse, this that. Okay, so question really is that what French and German settlers and other folks have been doing in Africa in the first place, besides colonizing and destroying the whole entire continent? That's the number one question. That's the question that should be asked. What happened in Senegal? What's going on in Congo? What's going on in DRC? What happened in Uganda? What happened in Rwanda? What happened in Mali? I can go on and on and on. What happened in Sudan? What do you think all that is? Hmm? So when we talk about horrific human rights abuses and all that thing, then you have to understand that when you play with fire, you're bound to get burned. That fire goes all over the place. So yes, from wildfire, nobody is protected. All right. So saying all these things that descendants of Dutch and French, German settlers, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Everyone knows how they got there. All right. So let's not even get into that. Anyway, now to put it more bluntly, they are killing white people and randomly allowing their farms to be taken from them. See, I don't know. First of all, I don't know how many people are getting killed. Okay, Because if that is the case, then lots and lots of farmers are getting killed in America too. Their farms, their lands, lots of things are taken away from them. Either it's taken away from them, or one way or the other. Whether you see, point is that whether you forcefully kill the farmers or whether you kill them with the burden of debt and put them into financial burden, what you think is happening with the soybean? All the soybean farmers are going to be in debt because that's how they make their money and then they pay off their debt. How do you think they do all this farming and all that? Why it happens out of the blue? They get some sort of investors. Huh? So, so put it more bluntly, they are killing white people. Now, see, white people killing white people, all that. I'm not endorsing anything here. My whole point is that this is a political stunt. Political stunt. Why? Because of the look at the result in New York. Then look at uh, Minnesota. The fear is the midterm next year. Okay. And this is why the whole entire G20 next year, G20 has been targeted straight up that, okay, Africa is doing this, this, this. So next year they are not invited. We will get into that too. Okay. We will get into that part. All right. But first of all, let's stick here. Let's stick with things here. Okay. Randomly allowing their farms to be taken from them. Randomly allowing their farms to be taken from them. I mean, what you think? What do you think happens? But US organizes all kinds of terrorist activities all over the world. I mean, why you're worried about this thing or little bitty thing that whatever? I mean, I don't know if it's happening or not, but you're worried about this. What you think happened in Bangladesh? I mean, Bangladesh regime change was there, right? What happened over there? Imran Khan is out. Imran Khan in Pakistan is gone. What do you think happened? What do you think happened in Libya? What do you think happened in Sudan? What do you think happened in Syria? Where do you think Al Qaeda came from? I mean, you're talking about all these things. So let's talk about it. But don't say randomly allowing their farms to be taken from them. If there is some sort of, let's say, I don't know how much of that is true. Okay. I don't know. But let's say if there is such a thing, then if you're saying that, if you're pointing it out that the white people are being targeted and all that, uh, then I think that the US government is responsible for it too, to a large extent. When you use race and sexism, then your gender, then your color, skin color, all those things, when you start to use this type of discrimination for your election and all that, then what do you think is going to happen? And I'm not talking just about President Trump. I'm talking about the historically, if you look at it, that's exactly how it is. So yeah, so when you play with fire, you're bound to get burned. Now, perhaps for worst of all, the soon to be out of business New York Times and the fake news media won't issue a word against this genocide. Well, you cannot call something a genocide. To call something a genocide, you have to prove that it is a genocide. That there is a definition of genocide. All right. So New York. So now all of a sudden you're targeting New York Times, fake news media. That's fine, whatever that is. That's why all the liars and pretenders of the radical left media are going out of business. I don't know who is going out of business. If you guys know, let me know. All right. But I'm not seeing anybody going out of business. At the conclusion of the G20 summit, now let's get into the important part here. Okay. At the conclusion of the G20, South Africa refused to hand off the G20 presidency to a senior representative from our embassy, from our US embassy. Well, South Africa normally, not normally, actually, the right thing to do is the G20, the presidency is handed over to the counterpart, meaning president of South Africa will hand it over to the president of the United States. You just cannot go and try to belittle somebody or head of a state somewhere by sending your US embassy senior representative or something. When you did that, that's why they did not give that thing, because you are not there. You have to be there. That's another thing. Third thing is that G20 is a economic forum. G20 is not about the human rights violation or something. If you want to talk about human rights, then go with United Nations Human Rights Commission. You let them say these things. I mean, your Human Rights Commission on regular basis makes lots and lots of claims that India has human rights violation, and then all of a sudden Pakistan is the happiest country, then Ukraine is the happiest country. But what? So United Nations Human Rights Commission cannot make all these human rights violation uh, things. They cannot talk about all these things. They cannot publish an article. They cannot put some sort of ranking or something out there, because see, reality is that UNHRC, that is Human Rights Commission, United Nations Human Rights Commission, completely is under US control. State Department gives them the instructions from here to say whatever they want to say, whatever they have to say, do not want to say. Whatever they have to say, State Department tells them to say. And here he's talking about this thing. So point is, G20 is not the forum for that. So you have to stick with the forums wherever you have to say whatever. Relevant forums. Use the relevant forum. You created the United Nations Human Rights Commission, so use United Nations Human Rights Commission. Who asked you to not attend G20 and isolate yourself? That's the thing. That's what I've been talking about. That, hey, learn the diplomacy. Okay, diplomacy. This is not your Trump Tower where you just go sit down and say you are fired and everything goes good. This is not your episode of The Apprentice, man. Now, anyways, who attended the closing ceremony? Well, yeah, so that's what happened. All right. Therefore, at my direction, South Africa will not be receiving an invitation to the 2026 G20. Now, here also on this part, okay. Therefore, at my direction, South Africa will not be receiving an invitation at 2026 G20, which will be hosted in the great city of Miami, Florida next year. See, once again, ignorant post. I don't know who in his administration tells him all these things, but the reality is that you don't invite people in G20. Okay, people, they don't. G20 has a very strict criteria that the top 20, top 21 economies have been or get to attend. That's all it is. That's the bottom line. That's why it's called G20, and now African Union G21. Okay, so nobody is invited over there. They are members and they go there every time there is a summit. So you cannot just go and uninvite people. All right. So no, you invited them into the White House, but you're not gonna invite them into G20 summit, thinking that like you have say in it. No, you don't have any say in it, dude. God. Now, South Africa has demonstrated to the world that they're not a country worthy of any membership. Now this is basically the targeting the BRICS thing, that not a country worthy of membership anywhere. Why is that? I mean, why is that? Why? Because of whatever is happening in their country internally. So because of that, South Africa is not somehow worthy of membership anywhere. Look into your own country, man. Look into your own country, what's happening over here. So, and we are going to stop all payments and subsidies to them. What payment are you talking about? What payment are you talking about? Your country is $37 trillion in debt. Here you're talking about the payments and subsidies and this and that and blah blah blah. You're not doing any payment or any subsidies for free. You are asking for money from them, or you are asking for favors from them. So don't pretend that you're doing some sort of favor to them. Okay. So uninviting South Africa is another BS, because you cannot uninvite. It is a fixed group of 19 countries plus European Union. US cannot just go and unilaterally say that, oh, you are not invited. We will cancel your visa. We won't let you enter the get out of the airport. so so question really then is, why all this? Why? Like I said, see, first of all, uh, you have to start fighting when you have a challenge, right? When you want to break a chain, you look for the weakest link. All right. And in BRICS grouping at this point, as far as five members are concerned, full members, that is, South Africa seems to be a weak link for many reasons. First thing first is the South Africa's current government. Okay, it's a coalition government. It's not a government with full majority. All right, so so it's always there is always a political instability risk, and you actually stir the pot like this, and so this way the opposition parties in South Africa get something to say. You know, get to say something, some sort of agenda to raise against the present government, so that the support is withdrawn and the government falls. Now, when Ramaphosa is gone, let's say, I'm saying that if Ramaphosa is gone, then the opposition leader, chances are that they may leave BRICS as well, because Ramaphosa himself has said that if he loses the election, then chances are that South Africa may leave BRICS. All right. So this is why lots of these things are said to raise the create some sort of internal agenda, so that there is basically, how we call it, stirring the pot. So that's what it is, hornet's nest. That's all. Now, then other thing is, first of all, South Africa being in a BRICS, then South Africa has uh, gold and lithium mines and other rare earth mines. So US has been trying to compete with China and Russia to mine all that, but that hasn't worked out yet. Okay, so they're trying to figure out this whole human rights things, so that to put some pressure on South Africa. Hey, be quiet, man, be quiet, type of thing. And this has US has this tendency of using the human rights violation and all that as a excuse to put pressure on other countries. They have done this thing against China, against India, Russia, everywhere, but they never talk about their own human rights violations. And this is what, but now, for with India, Russia, China, all these countries, this doesn't work, because they just simply say that, hey, look into your own country, stop telling other countries what to do, what not to do, keep your human rights to yourself. But South Africa being economically weak, there are lots of problems. So uh, it's kind of easy to build pressure. Okay. Then there are other factors as well, that South Africa's posture in Ukraine, Gaza, and then again, when President Trump applied sanctions, your tariffs on other countries, then South Africa basically worked with other countries, cooperated with them, that, hey, BRICS countries, that is, that, yeah, let's work together, we will do all these things, blah blah blah. So it's lots of mix of things. And when Ramaphosa was here, President Ramaphosa of South Africa, he was in the White House, then also that conversation didn't go very well. Okay. And basically President Ramaphosa said that, hey, we don't have $400 million plane to gift you, we're not Qatar. So that was basically a taunt, that, hey, you got the money, so now you're taking their side and all that, and somehow we are the bad guys. Now, so now BRICS has been a major threat for quite some time now. Okay, so and the BRICS is expanding, and in 2026 it's going to expand even more, because lots of things happened during the G20 when India's Prime Minister Modi was there, and he met the leader of the African Union as such too, and then lots of other African countries he met. And I think that, and I have somehow, something is telling me that entire African Union will be invited to the BRICS grouping. Now, if they will join or not, that's a different thing. Probably they already have talked about it. So chances are that African Union may join BRICS next year in 2026. So now let me see. So and I've already talked about it for the most part, that the whole white farmer narrative. I think maybe um, I think that whether white, black, brown doesn't matter. I mean, any farmer, uh, anybody getting killed or something, it's genocide overall is a bad thing. But uh, but 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 this really has to be explored, that if it is the white farmers, and if it is being uh what do you call it, if it is being uh if government is doing something or government is turning just blind eye on all these things, what's going on? So some of these things have to be looked at, but then again, my whole point is that G20 is not the platform for it. You have to look into the bigger picture. You just cannot go and use any random platform to whine about it. That's when it starts to sound like whining. You are the United States, man. Use your influence. Use your brain. You build all this system. You have United Nations Human Rights Council. Why don't you just simply ask United Nations Human Rights Council to do some sort of investigation into the matter, then make a issue out of that. Say that, then announce that, yeah, I've asked United Nations Human Rights Council to look into all this matter. That's how you do it. I mean, use the proper channels. You just cannot go and start boycotting G20, isolate yourself, then leave G7 halfway, don't even attend G7. Why? Because you're afraid of facing some leaders here and there. Stop doing all that. That's not diplomacy. That's called childish behavior at best. Then sometimes fighting with Canada, your neighbors are there. You're fighting with your neighboring country, sometimes bullying Mexico, sometimes bullying Cuba, sometimes somebody. For what? Now you're preparing to go and probably invade Venezuela for what? I mean, so yeah. So that's what it is, guys. That's what's going on. And but all in all, to summarize this whole thing, nobody can actually uninvite South Africa. But I believe that South Africa itself is not going to attend. And in fact, I think that the top BRICS brass is not going to attend either. All the full members of BRICS countries, they are not going to attend G20. Okay, they always send their representatives, and that's it. Nobody's going to attend it. You will see. You will see what I'm talking about. Okay, because I think that BRICS 2026 is going to be a very busy uh, event. Okay, this whole entire BRICS thing is going to be very busy. It's gonna start in January 2026, and it's gonna. I think that pretty much there will be every month. Probably there will be something, and something going on. Events after events after events. So you will see there will be some serious activity next year and the following year too. So anybody who thinks that India or other BRICS countries will have time to go and attend G20 somehow, then in their dreams. So I think that's it, guys. That's it for this video. Please do like and subscribe. I hope you learned something. And yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys in another video. Take care.